judge, municipal judge Robert Jackson, mentioned to me that he wasn't in on the round of budget compilations and the moving forward with the budget. Judges, we'll get up here to the municipal court. Is there anything you'd like to talk to us about?
Yes, sir, if I could have a few minutes.
The Mayor Lau, everybody, the procedure that went to the budget was everybody was given an opportunity to go through their budget, their last year, their this year's projections, and they were turned in. We went through and put their numbers in, we calculated, when we were shortfall, everybody took a cut and went back through, and then everybody was given all opportunity back to look at this budget. This is the first time that all of us have come together.
Okay.
So Mr. Jackson was not left out.
To wit?
I would beg to differ with that scenario. But that's not why I'm here, is to have arguments with her. But I will say that in the past, typically when we have budget hearings, there's usually a time when there's a big round table and all the budget heads come in and they talk to city council. Now, I have not received notice that that has occurred this year. Did that occur? So far as I know, that didn't occur. And so there hasn't been that opportunity for give and take. We were advised as to when to submit our proposed budgets. We got that. We then received back what we were told would be the budgets. But there was no discussion that we did not have an opportunity to talk to you in a typical way that we do. That's what I thought I was walking into tonight. And I think that's what some others thought they were coming here tonight. And I talked with Chief Pearson and asked him if he had had an opportunity to discuss his budget with you, and he had not. Chief Pearson and I and the city manager are essentially the three individuals that have a direct relationship with city council. And I know that Mr. Scott is new to that, and you may not be aware of that, but I don't work under the city manager. I work directly for you, for the city, as well as Chief Pearson. He has that same relationship. He doesn't work under the city manager. He works directly through you. And so I haven't had that opportunity. And I'm gonna be real quick, but I was surprised to hear those comments, and so I'm not sure just where we'll go, but let's take it real quickly and see what happens. The revenues are
32.
The expenses are on 32. The revenues are on
The front one.
page 13. My first comments are more of an observation than anything else. Is I recognize, although I don't come to your meetings, that there are things that are going on in the city of Jasper. Recognize that. Because of our police department force having been, is lower than the number, there are a number of positions that have not been filled yet. They will be filled, but they're just not filled yet. The number of citations is down dramatically, and the number of warnings actually exceeds the number of citations. Now, why is that important? There are certain revenue projections that are built into this budget that at the present level of court business that's coming before us, I'm not gonna come close to meeting. The projections are at $437,000.
How close are we to that?
I'm struggling to make $30,000 a month. That's $360,000 a year. So if you're thinking you're gonna make this budget and you're gonna have a balanced budget, I would suggest to you that the administration needs to revisit this in some other ways, because you're gonna get caught with your pants down, so to speak, at the end of the year. And that doesn't need to happen, and I don't want you to reflect it back on me and say, well, Judge, you sat there, you didn't say anything, this is what they did, why didn't you speak up? Well, I'm trying to speak up. That's why I thought we had budget hearings, is so we could communicate those factors with you. Now, depending upon how quickly those patrolman positions are filled and they're trained, and if they're new versus experienced officers, those ticket revenues will begin to increase. And I know that's not something that you talk about publicly, well, I have a bunch of tickets. Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying in a normal course of regular law enforcement, you're going to see a difference in revenue, but I can only handle that based upon those cases that come before my court. And if my court cases are down, I feel obligated to tell you those revenue projections are going to decline as well. And they're continuing to decline. And I don't know at what level there's gonna bottom out. So please be aware of that. Ask me whatever questions you want about that. I'll be happy to respond in a knowingly way. But that's what I'm seeing right now. Hopefully that will not continue, but it may for a while until it stabilizes and those staffing positions are made. One observation. The second is some of my expense funds were cut, which I can live with if my revenues stay down. Because
So we're going back to page 32.
back to
What are you
page
talking about?
32 now. Well, the supplies and, let me get to, the office supplies and the general supplies and some of that. As long as those case filings are down, my revenue, as long as my revenue's down, my expenses will be down because there will not be as much paper generated and other types of supplies sent. There won't be as much postage. There won't be as many trials. You get the idea. So I can live with that. There's no problem, and as long as that revenue projection stays lower. The other, and this is a personal thing, but I'm gonna express it anyway because I don't have anybody else to express it to, is last year, I've been working here since 1999. Last year, I was told expressly, nobody's getting any raises. We'll look at it in January, February, March. I said, fine. Nobody else is. I'm not asking for one either. I don't want to be treated any differently. Well, came March, April, May, whenever it was, y'all made a decision to give employee raises. Appropriate decision. When my check did not reflect that, and please understand, I am not an employee, I'm a contract employee, okay? My check didn't include that, so I called just asking, and I was told, well, you were not included because you're not an employee. Accept that. So I'm here before you at the budget time saying, I did not know if you intentionally excluded me from that, or was I unintentionally overlooked? And I just would like an answer from you.
What you're saying here, and just like the city attorney, you're not a city employee, you don't get city insurance, you don't get city.
That's correct.
All these other deals, you don't get vacation, you don't get time off,
No.
sick leave, all that. You, for a given amount of month, serve in your capacity as a city judge.
That's correct.
Whatever hours it may be required to be.
Whatever, early morning hours, late hours, whatever it requires, I have to do the job. That's correct. And then I pay my own social security, my own withholding, and that type of stuff. And so I don't know what y'all intended. You may not have intended for me to have a raise. I'll accept that. I have no hard feelings. I go on about my business. But you may not have known that I was not included. And if you intended to include me and didn't, I would appreciate being included now.
You know, Mr. Jackson, I didn't, speak for myself, I had no idea, you know, when we said we lowered the employee rate, I just figured everybody get a raise. And I didn't know that till you brought that up. Now, again, this roundtable budget discussion that we've had in the past, I was looking for that same type of setting here this evening.
I was embarrassed, because I actually was expecting something entirely different when I walked into, sir.
Well, but we didn't have it last year either.
Yeah, we had it last year. Yeah,
No,
last year we
no,
had it out there.
No, we did not.
We did not have a budget hearing last year,
Well,
because it was the same thing.
Last year they did it, they had basically, we passed basically a balanced budget with it. And we did have a hearing, but as far as all sitting here for 3 or 4 hours at night having a workshop, we did not. Am I correct, Mr. Floyd?
In May, when everybody got 3%, none of the four that answered directly to council, myself included, got 0 raise. The attorney, myself, Mr. Jackson, and Chief Pearson got no 3% in May or whatever. We answer directly to council, y'all give us raises on our evaluation every year. I don't, the
But
judge and
I
the
don't
attorney
have an
don't.
evaluation, and the attorney gets paid on an hourly basis, so whatever he works, he gets paid, he gets more or less. And then you got Mr. Boykin and you got Chief Pearson. Chief Pearson obviously has been very new, so would not have. It's just Mr. Boykin and myself. But Mr. Boykin was not bringing that forward to you, and I felt like I needed to be able to at least express myself to you, and you can make your decision as you so feel.
Now, let me ask you a question on this, because I've been thinking of me a question now. Why are you not included in the evaluation each year or so?
Never have. Never have.
Is there a reason for that, that the city could tell me? Mr. White?
He's never been included, he's a contractual employee.
Well,
I think for the.
as such, because he's working not on the city's payroll, city's paying a lump sum amount.
The city attorney also is not.
Yes, so,
But both of them are in the same category.
And that's fine, I don't have any problem with that, it's just that there's no other opportunity for me to present myself
well,
to you.
Robert, let me say this as mayor, that ever since I've been down here, I find out things I don't know, most of them which I don't like. But what I'm telling you this, I've never thought of you being in that context. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand.
So, I don't know about this rest of this council, but I would suspect that maybe no one else on this council saw you in this context.
Well, at one time, when Mayor Horn was the mayor.
Now,
he was
the
going to
police
try to
chief, the
include-
police chief's deal is different, in that he answers this council, but he works for the city of Jasper just like any other employee.
That's correct. He
That's
is
the way he
an employee.
receives his pay.
That's correct.
And the fire marshal's the same way. He works directly for the council, but he is a city employee, but you and the city attorney are a different situation. And that's the only two we've got. Well, I think that you should certainly have your input into this. What's the other council members say about this?
I know that we can't make a motion tonight.
We cannot, but we can talk about
But
it.
we can add or delete to our budget as we see fit. I mean, the reduced revenue, Denise, if what he's telling us true, should we go ahead and tweak the revenue or
I mean,
wait?
that was a very conservative number, as it is.
Okay.
You know, it was based, even on last year, was $442,000.
Okay.
And we're only basing
So we'll just
400,000.
leave it as is, you think?
I would leave it as it is.
And as far as the judges pay, I don't have a problem tweaking it 3%.
Judge, can I interject something over here? You don't have any problem with what's been done here, but you're saying that the city staff is presenting this budget based on what they deem as a balanced budget, but you say it ain't so, because you're looking like they're projecting this year $437,000. No, 2010, 2011, $400,000, and you're saying it's gonna be lucky to come in at $360,000.
All I'm saying, budgets are guesstimates. Budgets are always guesses as to what's gonna happen. And I'm just trying to advise you of some factors that I'm aware of. You're dealing with